Hey, what's up everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and today is Monday. And typically on a Monday, we will get the esports power rankings from ESPN. Well, the League of Legends global power rankings from ESPN. So, the last couple of weeks we've been doing this. We've been getting pretty upset by ESPN, but we can't stop now. It's also a great way to kind of practice and also force myself to create my own power rankings. We have blurbs and stuff. So let's get into the first team. The first team in the power rankings for ESPN, which is last place. So this is the worst team in the world. Well, the worst team in the 4 major regions is Schalke. So let's see. Schalke was 47th last week, 47th this week. I have them 47th in mine from last week. I don't anticipate changing them myself. So basically, my only notes were that they went 0-2 last week in the first week back from break. And I think my blurb is going to stay basically the same. So Schalke's 10-man roster is difficult to get behind considering they're potentially stunting the growth of all their players. Competition can be beneficial, but isn't necessarily. Team is growing. SK is winnable match this week. So I'm going to get rid of the long-term, or the short-term stuff, and I'll just keep everything else the same. So the worst team in the world in the major regions is Schalke. Next up, we have Dignitas. So where was Dignitas last week? Uh-oh. What? Oh, found it. Dignitas. So they are dropping 4 spots from 42nd to 46th. Let's see where I had them. I had Dignitas as my worst team. So this blurb was, the worst team in the world must have been offended by their new title because they showed up last week and took out Immortal in the toilet bowl. So this week I think they should actually be going up a little bit. So Dignitas, do not want to do that. Dignitas beat CLG with Viper's Riven, and then they lost when Viper was not playing Riven. It's pretty funny. Well, not funny actually. It's pretty ridiculous that that they put out a really not only bad stat but an incorrect stat about Viper yesterday on stream, and Viper was pretty annoyed by that. So let's see what he tweeted about it. So LoL ESPORTS said Viper is 6-3 on Riven in the LCS, but we did make an error. He's 22-40, not 22-62 on other champions. Originally, they put out 22-62 on all other champions, so then obviously everybody in the league community was kind of flaming him. So yeah, a professional league, you're probably better off not doing that to your own players in general. So Dardoch was good this week. Viper, not great, but the fact that Riven was buffed on this patch specifically, at least it's a ban that the other team will have to use against them moving forward. So this one, if I update my blurs, I'm going to have to do this one again. I'm not sure. I don't think that I'll have them as the worst team in the world this week, but let's keep moving. I can get rid of that. All right, so next up, we have the worst team in China is LNG, according to ESPN Power Rankings. Let me get rid of my email. So let's see, where did I have LNG? I think I had LNG second to last. Yeah, so LNG didn't do anything to improve their ranking. Their losing streak continued, and DMO's losing streak also continued. So I'm just going to throw both of those teams in there. 45. 44, we have Dominus. I will most likely be leaving both of those teams in the same spot. Hanwha 43. So I disagree with this ranking. I think the worst team in the region should be Seoul Haewon Prince. And I'm sure if we look closely, They will be soon. But let's just keep moving. So next up we have CLG. CLG has been fluctuating wildly within ESPN's power rankings. So we have CLG at 42. They've dropped 10 spots this week, and that's because they lost both of their matches this weekend. CLG went 0-2. So that's all we need for that. Let's keep moving. Solhewan Prince. Solhewan Prince was 45th, and now they're 41st. Not sure why they're really climbing the rankings. They didn't have a good week either. Solhewan Prince lost to Hanwha Life and Sandbox. And that's my justification for considering them the worst team in the league. I still love Mickey, but I think they're the worst team in the league. Next up, we have Team Vitality. So Vitality has dropped 6 spots. Vitality was in this clump of European teams down here. They went 0-2. I believe they lost to SK and Fnatic. Don't quote me on that. Next up, we have Immortals. Immortals is now considered the third worst team in the LCS. They lost to Golden Guardians and beat CLG. My note here was that all teams are in the same tier, so like I'm not going to give Golden Guardians, CLG, Immortals, Dignitas any credit for like beating each other, because I think they're all roughly in the same tier. Now technically 2 of them are going to make playoffs, but at this point it's pretty tough to figure out who it's going to be from talent. Like some of them could just be fortunate that they got some wins earlier in the season, and that would I think that would be CLG, right? So let's see. Oh, it would appear I've lost internet. But that doesn't matter. I already loaded the ESPN page, so this is perfect for me. Okay, so Immortals was next. Immortals dropped 4 spots from 43 to 39. Wait, what? Oh, they rose 4 spots from 43 to 39. Never mind. Rogue Warriors. Rogue Warriors is now the 38th ranked team. Rogue Warriors picked up wins against 2 teams, which was very big for them. They beat, this is a 3-game win streak for them. So they've beaten Dominus, LGD, and FPX. The LGD win and the FPX wins, those are both very good. Due in large part to Haro. I think Haro is a very good, maybe not very good. He is a good jungler for the LPL, which would make him a relatively strong jungler in most other regions. What's next? OMG. So we have OMG going from 40th to 37th. They are on a 3-match losing streak. Not sure why they're moving up. Maybe this has something to do with their possibility of making the playoffs, which I know is important for ESPN. E-Star has gone from 38 to 36. E-Star won their head-to-head match against OMG. That was not a roster change that they're going to stick with long-term, I don't think. They played Rat instead of Wink because Wink was in the hospital or sick or something like that. So not too important. Or at least it's not going to fundamentally change anything moving forward. Or at least not yet. Okay, next up we have KT Rolster. So KT Rolster is another team that has been moving a decent amount. They were 27th in the first rankings. Now they're 35th. KT has a lot of roster questions that, like, they just continuously switch up their roster. So they lost to T1, beat Sandbox. The roster questions keep them out of the top 5 or 6 in the LCK. I think this is relatively fair ranking. Next up, 100 Thieves. So 100 Thieves, after their victory over Cloud9, I believe they went 0-2 this week. So let's see, 100 Thieves. I have much lower in my rankings, or at least I will have them dropped back down a decent amount in my rankings. They lost to Dignitas, which is a bad loss, and they lost to Immortals, which is an okay loss. It just means that they're not a tier above these teams. I'm going to have to put them all in the same tier. Well, actually, maybe I'll put them in the same tier. 100 Thieves might be at the top of that tier. Next up, we have Sandbox Gaming. So Sandbox Gaming had been rising, but now they're dropping 2 more spots. Sandbox did not have a great week by any stretch of the imagination. They beat Solhewan Prince, who they're supposed to beat, and they lost to KT, who they had beaten earlier in the split. So that is a negative for sure. XL. XL had a pretty good week, I believe. No, they didn't. They did not have a good week. I was wrong. So they went from 44th to 32nd. They rose 12 spots for no reason. That's questionable. So we're going to take a look at that one when I get the internet back. Let's keep going. EDG. This is a pretty low ranking for EDG in my opinion. I think talent-wise, EDG is better than this ranking, but it's been tough recently. They've been losing a lot of their matches. I think they lost their last handful of matches. Yeah, losing streak continues. 3 out of 5 remaining matches are definitely winnable. The reason I included that note is because I think they're still live to make the playoffs. And they have a few matches coming up that will be like true tests of their ability. Let's keep going. Team Dynamics is up next. Team Dynamics. So Dynamics continues free-falling in the ESPN rankings. After picking up a good win the week before against T1, which was really just T1 throwing it away. They lost both of their matches. Losing streak continues. I think they're at like a 3-game losing streak or something like that. Next up, Billy Gaming. So Billy Gaming, they have looked much better recently. They lost to Sunning, beat Dominus, so they lost to a team that's better than them. They beat a team that is worse than them, and that's probably going to leave them in about the same spot. TSM, Team Tissem, has gone from 23rd to 28th. They lost both of their matches this week. Let's see, TSM. Oh, they went 1-1, so they lost to FlyQuest. Who'd they beat? 100 Thieves? I think they beat 100 Thieves. We'll have to check that at some other time. Golden Guardians. So the Golden Guardians beat Immortals and beat Dignitas. I think that they were supposed to win both of those matches. Those are two teams within their same tier, so I'm not going to give them as much credit as ESPN has. 27. Next up is FlyQuest. So FlyQuest, I believe, went 2-0 this week. They beat TSM, and again, I think this change was mostly caused by their like how their odds of making the playoffs or whatever the weird criteria is that ESPN Esports uses for their rankings. Next up is Afrika Freaks. So the Afrika Freaks have dropped 7 spots in ESPN's rankings. They lost to Genji and Damwon Gaming. So those are the kinds of losses that I really don't mind at all. That's a team to watch out for when comparing mine to ESPN Esports. Misfits went from 19th to 24th. So this week, Misfits lost both of their matches. They threw against Fnatic. They should have beaten Fnatic, which would have been a good win for them, and they lost to Origin. So I think they had chances to win that Origin match as well. But that's not what you want to see from Misfits. I think Misfits is a very talented team. Let's see if they can put it together for the rest of the split. Next up is Evil Geniuses. Are the Evil Geniuses? So Evil Geniuses was 33rd last week for them. They've made some roster changes at this point, so now they're 23rd in the rankings. Let's see. Evil Geniuses. New roster. Bad draft and lost to Team Liquid, but then they had a good draft and they beat Cloud9. So this is the Cloud9 bump. If you beat Cloud9, ESPN Esports is going to raise you a lot. Very interesting. Well, not too interesting. It's kind of expected. SK Gaming won both of their matches this week. They rose 3 spots. I don't think they beat anybody of note. I could be wrong about that. I'll check that again for my own rankings once I get the internet back. Not sure when that's happening. Vici Gaming. So Vici Gaming has looked significantly better in their last couple of matches. They haven't had the results to kind of like confirm that they've been good games, but they were good matches against tough opponents, like FPX, JDG, and Top Esports. I think they played all 3 of those teams, and they beat FPX, and then they played the other 2 teams pretty close, even though Top Esports 2-0'd them. The second game was very, very questionable that they lost. But that's basically that. RNG went from 20th to 15th to 20th. RNG is having a tough go of it recently. They lost 4 out of 5 matches, and then I just made a note that they will be a live dog against LGD in their next match, so that's something that I'm looking out for to potentially bet on. Okay, FPX number 19. So this is a big drop for FPX. I wish they put a blurb on this one, because this seems to be something that's like relatively significant. Like, I understand they just want to do 10, but I think that you can justify doing more when there's like a gigantic jump or something like that. Like if they just if they were picking and choosing their spots, I think it'd be a little better. But that's okay. Next up is Origin. So Origin has been on a bumpy ride recently, but Origin picked up, I believe, 2 good wins this weekend. So they beat G2 and they beat Misfits. So I think it's tough to think that they are significantly better with the addition of Jack Troll, but Jack Troll is a shot caller apparently for the team, and that is something that can drastically change a team's outlook. Think of it as Jackie Love. Like, Jack Troll is obviously not Jackie Love, although his name is Jack Troll. So maybe they're trolling us by playing Jackie Love at support. That would be interesting, but they're not. Next up is G2. So G2 is dropping 6 spots in the ESPN Power Rankings because of their bad weekend. They lost both of their matches. I think they lost to Origin and I forget the other team they lost to. Let's see. They lost to Origin and Mad. So losing against Origin, like before the season, if you told me that G2 lost to Origin, I wouldn't have been that surprised. I was only a little surprised because of how bad Origin has been recently, and I didn't expect the Jack Troll change to help Origin. Next up, we have Fnatic. So Fnatic rose 8 spots. They were on a big losing streak, but this week they beat Misfits, and then they beat a team that they were supposed to beat. I think it was XL. So they still didn't look good in my opinion. I will not be raising them as much as ESPN did, I assume. Next up, we have LGD. So LGD is going from 20th to 15th. I had them at 15 already. They had a loss to Rogue Warriors, but then they beat EDG and they beat World Elite. The win over World Elite is a very, very good victory for the playoffs. Next up, we have T1. And I think that I might have to adjust my T1 ranking as well. They already had them at 14. They're playing against good teams right now, so I'm not going to be too concerned. They were swept by Gen G, but again, the top 4 teams in Korea, I think all can take games against one another, can take series against one another. It's not like they're losing consecutive matches to bad teams. It's still a good team. Team Liquid. So Team Liquid is up next. They beat Evil Geniuses, which is a good win, but Evil Geniuses really lost that game more than Team Liquid won that game. And then they beat 100 Thieves, and they're expected to beat 100 Thieves, so I can't give them too much credit for that. Cloud9 is going from 5th to 12th. And that's because their dominance it has been brought into question the last few weeks. Last 2 weeks. They've had losses in back-to-back weeks for the first time in a long time. They had a loss to 100 Thieves, and then they just lost to Evil Geniuses. But I do think that we should be giving more credit to Evil Geniuses than taking away credit from Cloud9, if I'm ESPN Esports. Next up, we have Team World Elite. Team World Elite was 12. Now they are 11. Team World Elite, a good team. I don't think they're significantly better than a lot of the other teams in China, so I'll probably not make the same change that they made. Probably still in the contenders bracket, not world class, and I also think it'd be tough to rank them ahead of LGD at this point. But we can keep going. Next up is Sunning. So just to remind everybody, I had Sunning as one of my dark horses before the season even started. Not patting myself on the back, but if I was patting myself on the back, it'd be well deserved, and I would appreciate it and I would enjoy it. So let's read the blurb and try to contain any immense anger I feel because of the blurb. Don't look now, but Sunning is on a win streak of 6 matches and are barreling towards the LPL playoffs with a whole lot of momentum behind them. So this is their first time in the top 10. The team had a rough patch in the early part of the season when they dropped 3 straight matches to JDG, IG, and EDG. So 2 of the best teams in China, and then EDG, who has been playing poorly, but have rebounded in recent weeks with a string of wins to put them firmly in the playoff picture with the possibility of making the world championship no longer a pipe dream. Not a great sentence, but so far this is actually an improvement for ESPN. Led by 19-year-old mid laner Angel, Sunning continued its impressive form with 2 more victories this past week. First, winning a close 2-1 series with Billy Gaming before taking another 2-1 scoreline over faltering RNG. Again, not the best sentence in the world, but an improvement from what they've done. There have been a lot of 2-1 wins recently for Sunning, but none of that matters. As long as the W appears in the team's standings following a game, they'll be just fine, inching their way ever so closer to the franchise's first World Championship appearance. So, Erzberger, I've been giving this guy a lot of garbage. This is an improvement, but it's still not perfect. I wouldn't put that on him. I'd put it on his editor, but let's just move forward. Next up, we have number 9, Damwon Gaming. So Damwon Gaming is going from 7th to 9th. Damwon Gaming falls in the rankings this week not because they lost a game, but rather due to Genji's big win over T1 and Damwon's par for the course wins over Team Dynamics and Afrika Freaks. This week, mid laner Showmaker's week. This week was mid laner Showmaker's week, as he racked up 2 MVP awards against Afrika and also contributed handsomely against Dynamics, all across three champions of various playstyles: Silas, Zoe, and Doriana. That's a pretty long sentence, not a great sentence. Damwon is still a top team in the LCK, but questions still remain around their consistency, and the earlier split loss to Genji makes Damwon's playoff hopes peculiar indeed. Alright, so pretty bad blurb, in my opinion. Let's keep going. Next up, Genji. Genji are sitting pretty in 2nd place of the LCK standings and are in position. See, like, it's just little things, but it is kind of annoying to read. Genji are sitting pretty in 2nd place of the LCK standings, in position to lock in a world's position, horrible sentence, and battle for the LCK Summer Split title after being swept by T1 in a disappointing spring final. Horrible. This is horrible. All of that is in the rearview mirror, as Genji were able to dispatch of T1 handily last Saturday. 80 carry Ruler leads the LCK in kills with 122, and if he keeps up this pace, it should open up more options to victory for his team. This is a horrible blurb. This is horrible. Like, this probably took 1 minute to write. If you took 5 minutes, it could have been okay. If you took 10 minutes, then it would be good. But we cannot expect too much from the multi-billion-dollar company, right? I assume they're worth multiple million. I assume they're worth millions of dollars, and actually they were acquired by. I assume they're worth billions of dollars because they were acquired by Disney. So now they're like a Disney company. They're a part of Disney. Disney, get your act together. Next up, we have Rogue. Yes, Rogue did have a lighter schedule than Mad this week, taking down last place Schalke and 4-7 XL, but that doesn't take away from their impressive split and the fact that perhaps the only reason they didn't move up in the power rankings this week was because of the quality of competition. Those first 2 sentences basically said the same thing, and they didn't say them well. If anything, this week's match against XL did more to feed the forever lasting Rogue greater than sign TSM debate with the Special and Reginald comparisons. I have no idea what that is. Larson and Inspired both went deathless on the weekend. Larson ended with a 14-0-12 KDA, while Kakper, I think it's probably Casper. Actually, I don't know. That could be the way that you spell Casper. Maybe it's like an interesting Middle Eastern European. That's what I meant to say. Rogue will meet Misfits in G2 this weekend, and another 2-0 showing should bump them up the rankings, at least in my book. I agree with that. Another horrible blurb by Okal, but at least the last sentence was like correct content-wise. So that's Rogue at 7. DRX 6, so they're dropping 2 spots. DRX continued to be the best team in the LCK, taking blowout series wins over bottom dweller Hanwha Life and middle of the pack Dynamic this week. Each week, DRX seem like they're shoring up some of their weaknesses, but at the core, the team is still at times unpredictable. As mentioned in past rankings, they're likely to face some stiff competition in Gen G, T1, and Damwon Gaming, and it's still unclear if when push comes to shove in key pressure moments, whether or not DRX can really step up to the plate. Pretty terrible sentence. The team is incredibly talented at a raw skill perspective. Horrible. Notably young stars Chovy and Karia and Deft. But young is the key word here. Their inexperience may be their downfall. Still, it would be unfair not to acknowledge their regular season success and award them the top spot among the LCK Titans. This is a horrible blurb, again, so I will have to do my own blurbs and send them to them. This is pretty pathetic, in my opinion. Next up is V5. So V5 went from 2nd place, now they're in 5th place. The story of the summer, Victory 5 have captured the hearts of a nation and even more overseas with their movie-esque ascent in China. I could go to any English class and find someone who could write these blurbs better than these quote-unquote writers. In the spring, V5 were at the very bottom. In the spring, V5 were at the very bottom at the global power rankings. Yes, that is what they said. A punching bag for even North Americans to have a laugh about. The only winless team in all of the 4 major regions. Mole endured the worst embarrassment a player could achieve in League of Legends and woke up to a new team surrounding him in the summer, allowing him to exact some revenge on the teams and players that looked down on him in the spring. It's a classic Cinderella story. No one believed in them, and even now, near the top of the LPL standings with the only squad to take a match off the Titans known as Top Esports, there are questions if V5 are the real deal or similar to E-Star's quick rise and fall in the spring. Although the team lost its only game since last week's power ranking to 2018 world champion Invictus Gaming, dropping them from number 2 to number 5 in the rankings, it was another notch in V5's belt that this team is no one-hit wonder. Even in defeat, V5 didn't look out of place, playing a team filled with former world champions on the upswing, taking them to the utter brink before falling in a thrilling 3-game series. Erzberger, I thought we turned the corner, but apparently we have not. Oh my god. See, honestly, if I was somebody like Erzberger and I couldn't write 1 paragraph, the chances of me writing 3 paragraphs for an article is 0. I would avoid it at all costs. But let's see. Let's see if this one's actually better than the last one. I doubt it. Wait, are Invictus Gaming back? During the mid-season cup, it felt as if we were watching the unraveling of IG in full. The summer season an epilogue to a world champion franchise before shaking up the roster entirely in the offseason. The Shy had become a parody of himself, throwing himself over and over into the grinder that was his opponent to rack up a mile-high death chart. If it wasn't for the reemergence of Team Talisman Rookie, this team would have fallen apart completely in the early parts of the summer and be swimming with the likes of EDG as famed orgs at the bottom of the table. Yet, in true IG fashion, as if it was as simple as flipping on a switch, the 2018 World Champions and 2019 World Semifinalists are roaring back as another World Championship approaches. Rookie has continued his elite form. The Shy is dying a bit less, but impacting the game a whole lot more, and maybe most surprisingly, Bao Lin aka Baolan, this is the second week in a row that he's misspelled this name, or someone has misspelled this name, has been controlling games back in the starting spot as support. Once regarded as simply Jackie Love's sidekick that was kept in the starting five due to the AD carry's fondness for his bottom lane partner, Baolan is playing some of the best games of his career without Jackie Love beside him in the bot lane. Jackie Love and Top Esport might be leading the charge towards the World Championship atop the LPL standings, but Baolan is in the rearview mirror, chasing his friend and former partner. Whoa. Man, not sure you needed 3 paragraphs for that one, but maybe stick to one paragraph. Maybe stick to one sentence. Give me one really good sentence, and then we'll go to a paragraph, then we can go to multiple paragraphs. It'll be great. Alright. JDG. Erzberger, once again. Man, they make this guy write a lot for somebody who can't write. Forget us? You know, the reigning Chinese champions, the team with the best all-around top laner in the world, Zoom, and current league MVP, Jungle Wonderkind, Kanavi? While the likes of RNG, FPX, and EDG combust along with surprises like V5 shooting up the rankings. What? JDG is out here taking care of business like professional surgeons with their dissection of opponents. Okay. JDG have little to prove following their domestic crown and put on another flawless week of play, first by dispatching an up-and-coming VG Gaming squad before continuing the world champions' woes by smacking down FPX in a sweep. JDG are in worlds-ready form and are inching ever so closer to taking back their number 1 spot in the global power rankings. Mad Lions, number 2. With Rogue having a lighter schedule this week, Mad Lions found themselves at most risk to fall from the tie for first in the summer split. Horrible sentence. A victory over XL on Friday set up the big contest on Saturday against a struggling G2 who had dispatched the Young Lions in Week 1. Momentum was in Mad's favor, however, and they handed G2 a drubbing on Saturday. Shadow dominated on his comfort pick Lee Sin, improving to 5-2 this split on the champion. The bot lane stayed deathless, with Kaiser playing Leona for the first time this split, and Karzi leading in Team KDA on Callista with 2-0-12. Okay, this is the time of year when fan predictions ramp up about what Worlds could actually look like and which teams will participate. Mad Lions has been in that conversation for a while now, and performances like this not only further cement their participation, but also give fans more fodder with which to predict making them a run on the big stage. I'm pretty sure that fodder should not be used that way, but my internet is still not working. And the number 1 team in the world is still Top Esports. So last week, Top Esports lost to V5 in a jaw-dropper, the day of our previous edition of the Power Rankings. Horrible sentence. But the Chinese powerhouse made up for itself, dominating Vici Gaming on Sunday and continuing to hold its title as the best team in the LPL, and by proxy, the world. With their 9-1 record this split, and a title win at the Mid-Season Cup a few months ago, Top have become a powerhouse among a competitive region, the same that holds the past 2 World Championship trophies. If this course continues as is, with Top remaining so dominant, they'll enter the 2020 League of Legends World Championship in whatever form that may look like, as one of the favorites for the title. So this might actually be the worst week for ESPN Esports' blurbs. The writing is really bad. I know that I keep saying that, but it is kind of shocking how bad it is. Like, I know that when you're going from an in-print publication to an online publication, you shouldn't expect the same kinds of the same level of writing. But this isn't even college level writing. This is high school, and it's bad for high school. So it's pretty unfortunate for ESPN. I wish there was something they could do to fix it. Maybe hire an editor. Maybe hire writers who know how to write. I don't know. It seems too complicated to me. So I will be putting together my power rankings and writing some more blurbs at some point this week. But for now, I will leave you with a thank you and a good night.